Okay, hello. Take two. All right. Let me share my screen. Welcome. Can everybody see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yay. Woohoo. Okay, thank you. All right. So welcome to the Tower Garden. My name is Jennifer Capone, and I'm a certified health coach, and I love my Tower Garden. So here, hopefully you guys can see the new Tower Garden home. So I'm going to show this to you all one more time. Isn't that awesome? That's so awesome. I love it. I can't wait to get that's our new Tower Garden home. It just launched this past Monday, so it's now available for purchase. So just really quickly, I'll just share a little bit about me and my health journey. It started about 12 years ago, but this was around 14 years ago. This is when my husband and I got married. I was struggling for many years of symptoms of an autoimmune condition, but I was never officially diagnosed until I had our son Christopher 12 years ago. He just turned 12. Look, he's so little. And then after I had him, I was officially diagnosed with Hashimoto's and was put on a prescription, and kind of the doctor was just concerned with my blood levels being normal, but I still had symptoms of feeling tired all the time, and I just kind of put up with it, I guess, because, you know, if the doctor says your blood work's normal, then you must be normal, right? But then when my son was around 3.5 years old, he started having some health issues. He had some stomach issues where he would bleed when he went to the bathroom. It was a really scary time, and he was having allergies like every other week or so. And I took him to the doctor, and it was his doctor that recommended the plant powders that we flood our body with every day called Juice Plus. And at the time, I didn't realize how depleted my body was and how much I needed it. But at that same period of time, we had been trying to get pregnant again for about 2 years. But I will tell you, after just 3 months of taking these plant powders, I not only did my son's condition start to get better, his stomach issues went away almost immediately, and his allergies slowly went away. He's hardly, if ever, sick anymore. But I did get pregnant with our daughter, Sophia. She's 7 years old now. And I did not get that pregnant right away. But that was when I was 22 weeks pregnant at our first health conference, which was so much fun. And that's actually where the Tower Garden was launched. So, but here's how our life is today. Today we have no more allergies. We breathe freely. We rarely visit the doctor, for well visits only. Significantly lowered our cholesterol. My autoimmune issues are under control. And we have better energy and mood than in our 20s. And those of you that are also taking our plant powders, I know you probably have an amazing story as well. So, but here's my life before Tower Garden. So it was because of the plant powders and the nutrition that I've learned, the education I've learned through the company, I started learning more about how important is what we put in our bodies. And I'm like, well, maybe we should start growing a garden. So this was my first attempt of growing a garden. It was an above ground garden in our backyard. And basically, this is what I was good at growing: weeds. So they just would overtake the garden. And I had issues watering the garden, which, if you live in Florida, you know, can be an issue with our heat. And they really have to be watered probably twice a day if you don't have a sprinkler system. And then we had a lot of issues with pests. I actually had ants that just took over this flower bed. And I just decided, you know, gardening was too much work for me. I had little ones. I just didn't have time or could remember to water my garden. So this is just a little bit of fun. Like we all say, you know, there's 6 degrees of you and anybody. And Tim Blank is the person that discovered the Tower Garden and brought it to our company. And I'm just going to share with you a little fun story about how I'm sort of connected with him. So back I did a Disney internship about 22 years ago. Ouch. So that's me 22 years ago. I was teaching programs it's now called Saratoga Springs. It used to be called the Disney Institute. And I also taught educational programs at Epcot and at the Land where Tim Blank used to work. And then this is my good friend Jason, and he actually physically worked with Tim Blank at Epcot. He also was in a horticultural program, and he's still friends with Tim to this day. They still do business together. And there is Tim. And so I like to say there is 2 degrees of me to Tim Blank because he knows my friend Jason. But that's just a little bit of fun. So this is bothering me right here. I'm going to move it. Okay. So the Tower Garden, the future of urban gardening. So there's no dirt. It uses 90% less water, 90% less space, but gives you 100% success. Also less pests than traditional gardening. It uses the purest mineral tonic. It's actually inorganic earth minerals, like directly from the earth. And it was developed by NASA. And it waters itself. That is my favorite thing about it because I'm very forgetful. So I just want to show you the differences of our 2 units. So this is the Tower Garden Flex. This is our original unit. So this one is ideal for indoor, outdoor use. It has a larger base. It's 30 inches wide. It's still small. It's not like a huge thing, but it's a little bit larger than the other unit I'm going to show you in a second. So it holds 20 gallons of water. It has 20 different planting ports, but you have the option to add an extension. So we do sell an extension kit where you can add an additional 8, or you could also add a microgreens at the top. The lights and wheels are sold separately. And then here is our Tower Garden home. So this has 16 of the ports that are on the Tower Garden Flex, but then it has an additional 16 for microgreens or herbs. You could do strawberries up there. And this one has a 13-gallon reservoir. It's only 24 inches wide. It has a water level monitor. So that's just like a fun thing they added on. So you could just see by looking at it to know if you have to refill it with water. And then, like I said, it has a section for baby greens. So this is available with or without the grow lights. The Tower Garden Flex, you could add the grow lights to as well. So a lot of people wonder, how does it work? So I'm just going to show with you this quick video.
Tower Garden's state-of-the-art aeroponic vertical garden system uses both water and air to produce more colorful, better-tasting, and incredibly nutritious fruits, vegetables, and herbs. Tower Garden has a 20-gallon reservoir at its base that stores the Tower Tonic nutrient solution. Developed by experts in plant and human nutrition, Tower Tonic Mineral Blend enables superior plant growth and better nutrition from your Tower Garden produce. The process begins once the seedlings have been placed in your Tower Garden. Here they will be nourished with Tower Tonic nutrient solution. Inside the reservoir is a small, low-wattage submersible pump. The pump pushes the nutrient solution up through the tower to the top. From there, the nutrient solution drips through the central tower using a special device that evenly cascades the solution over the exposed plant roots. On the journey down the tower, the nutrient solution feeds the roots and becomes highly oxygenated as it cascades gently down the reservoir. This process is continuous. providing fresh oxygen, water, and nutrients to the roots of the plants. This patented aeroponic process enables food crops to grow faster than they would in soil, so they can be harvested more often. And it makes Tower Garden a healthier, easier, smarter way to grow your produce.
I just love that little cha-cha at the end. Okay. So one of the main reasons I tell people why it is great to own a tower garden is because produce is expensive and the cost of produce is just going to keep going up. But the truth is we need to eat it to be healthy and get the nutrients we need. So here's just a little comparison. This is a receipt from our local grocery store and what we did is we just went and purchased 5 different items that you can grow on the tower garden. And we didn't even purchase it organically where it would have cost more money. So just conventional produce, Swiss chard, lettuce, grape tomatoes, bell peppers, and cucumber. And it came to $11.60. So we know that hopefully, ideally, that person's eating more than that in produce a week. I mean, to me, that could just be a couple of days. But if we're being generous and saying, oh, they just do that once a week for a month, they're spending $46.40 a month on just those 5 items if they did that every week. Whereas the monthly cost for just the standard flex tower, where you're growing 20 different plants, not just 5, so 15 additional plants, it's only $45.25 a month if you do the payment. So it just kind of, it's like a no-brainer. So here's just the cost comparison with the 2 different models. So here's the Tower Garden Flex. So the base unit is $525 plus tax and shipping, or $45.25 a month, which the first payment you pay the shipping on, and then the remaining payments are the $45.25. Your accessories can be added for a small monthly cost. So for example, if you were to add the wheels and the cage, which I recommend to everybody, it would just bring your cost up about $11 more a month, $10 to $11 more. And then if you wanted to add the lights, it adds on like another $20. So for around $76.08 a month, you could have the lights and everything, or for $56, you can have just the wheels and the cage, or just start with the standard tower for $45.25. So the Tower Garden Home is our brand new Tower Garden. It's made mainly for indoor use. It can be used outdoors, but if you are thinking or considering buying one, I would just talk with the person that invited you to this call, and they could talk through how you were like wanting to use the tower and help you pick the one that best suits your needs. So the base unit with the lights, like if you're doing indoor growing, would be $970. So I know it's a slightly higher than this one, but it includes things that this one does not. So, or it's $82.34 a month. If you wanted it without the lights, so you can use this to grow outdoors, it would be $670 or $57.34 per month. So with this unit, it does include the wheels. And if you're doing it with the lights, it's including the lights, and you do get the microgreens portion on here, which is not included with the Tower Garden Flex unless you get an extension. So here's just a way to show you how it saves you money. And this is just one example. So this is one Tower Garden, probably that had the wheels and the cage, which is why it's a little bit higher price, and what the person grew on it and their yield in 6 months. So their 6-month yield averaged almost $800. So they're saying, you know, in about 6 months, if you're growing what you're eating and you're enjoying your tower garden, it should pay for itself in less than 6 months. And then what I like to say is it ends up paying you, because once your tower garden is paid for after the year, or if you pay for it in full, you're basically ahead of the game. Like a head of lettuce, I mean, it costs pennies. So in over 10 years, you could be saving $5,000 to $12,000 if you're continuing growing your produce. And if you have 3 tower gardens, which we call like our family garden, over 10 years, it could save you $17,000 to $37,000 in produce costs, which is huge. And it's not just about like saving the money. There's also, other reasons to own a tower garden. Is it's just really good for the environment. So that's one of my favorite quotes from the Lorax. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed, our produce is traveling so much farther today, which means they have to harvest it that much earlier so it does not go bad before it gets to the grocery store. But the cause of that is when you harvest produce that early, it gets most of its nutrition towards the end of its growing stage. So if you're harvesting it too early, it's not as nutritionally dense, and it quite frankly tastes like water. So if you ever, I'm sure there's been times when you've bought strawberries that just looked beautiful, but you bit into it and it tasted like nothing. And that's why, is because it was not vine ripened. And I guarantee you, if you grow a strawberry on your tower garden, you will taste the difference. But so here's just a little comparison. So traditional gardening, most use chemicals and fertilizers that are harming our earth, which is why our produce is less nutritious than it was 20, 30, 50 years ago, is because our soil is depleted. And tower gardening uses all natural earth minerals that are found in the soil like nature intended. So it's getting what it needs to not only taste amazing, but give you the nutrition you need. And traditional gardening takes up a lot of space and water, using more of our natural resources. And tower gardening takes up less than 10% of the space, water, and nutrients of traditional gardening. So that's just some cool facts right there. So we also did a study on our tower garden. So tower garden grows a higher yield of produce in a quicker amount of time. So we did this study at the University of Mississippi. They're known for their horticultural program. And what they did is they planted 8 different crops in like best conditioned soil, organic, and they grew the same 8 crops in a tower garden. And they compared the crops. And so what they learned was that the tower garden had 30% more yield across those 8 different crops. It grew 3 times as fast as in ground. And it also was equal to or better nutritionally than the in-ground produce. So that was pretty cool. So you might be wondering, what can I grow in a tower garden? So I shared this earlier. These are my 2 tower gardens, who I named Thelma and Louise. And I like to talk to them. And I apologize if you hear my children screaming in the background. It's almost their bedtime. Not that they scream every night, but when your husband's trying to put them to bed, you don't know what's going to happen. So there's some tomatoes I grew, strawberries that just taste amazing. And then here's some ideas of what you can grow. So here's like a list of indoor items. There's a list of, and I apologize, I have to change this slide. You can't really see, but like outdoors, you can grow more fruit bearing things. And indoors, you can grow a lot of stuff, like a lot of herbs. You can grow more lettuce, like things that aren't going to flower. So here's another list. You can see some of the things on here, but here's some pictures of people that have grown in the past. So here's some peppers, some string beans that just taste amazing. There's my friend Courtney's daughter, Presley. She's so little there. She's like 13 now. With some tomatoes she grew. This was a yield from just a family, 3 different tower gardens. That was a yield that this woman picked one weekend. And there's my kids when they were little. They used to like steal the strawberries. Like I would be watching one that I really wanted to eat, and then my kids snagged it. Which you can't yell at them for robbing your produce. But my favorite reason, tower gardens are fun for the whole family. So there's my daughter, germinating some seeds. So, it's lessons all around, and I went to college to become a teacher. I was an elementary teacher for a couple of years. And so I just love the educational aspect of the tower gardens. They actually, if you are a teacher, if you know teachers, it's very easy to get grants to have Tower Gardens paid for. I've helped a couple of schools, but also we have lesson plans available that you can use for preschool up until they have high school level lesson plans, which are pretty neat. So we have Tower Gardens all around the country. So here's some in O'Hare Airport in Chicago. They use the produce they grow to feed the restaurants there. This is a restaurant in New York City. And they grow their produce to feed that restaurant as well. Excuse me. Here's some in schools in the community where I live. I helped this local preschool get some Tower Gardens, and the different teachers adopt the towers and help them grow. There's some produce we grew there. Here's another school. They got that garden with a grant. It's at my husband's school. And then I also did something at a local restaurant where I called it a kids corner, where I just educated the kids on where produce, I mean, a lot of kids don't even know where produce comes from. They think it just comes from your local grocery store. So just showing them, you know, how to plant a seed and different stages of growing is exciting. So here's just me having fun for a second. So I like to say Tower Gardens are not just for everyday people, but also for the rich and famous. So I'm sure you may know Jessica Alba. That's her doing a nice little yoga pose there, or meditation in front of her Tower Gardens. And it's probably because they make a really nice waterfall sound from the pumping up the water trickling down. And there is President Bill Clinton. He's checking out some of our Tower Gardens. And I don't know if you knew, but Kim likes to pose by her Tower Garden. That is totally a real photograph. And also, hey girl, my favorite man, Ryan Gosling, he did have a slight injury to his right foot over here. But he has one too out on his patio. And you know what? You never know who the Tower Garden will bring together. There's the Clintons and the Trumps. They all met next to a Tower Garden. So it just brings everyone together. So that is all I have for the presentation. That's my email if anyone has any questions. But if someone invited you to this event tonight, please get back to them with more information. And thank you so much for joining us.